Now, I'm making this video during the coronavirus pandemic. During this pandemic, loneliness has increased. Now, I've been a social outcast my entire life because people dislike those who are different from them. And I'm perceived as so different, some might think I could qualify as a Martian. So I'm used to isolation to an extent. Anyway, I had no interest in meeting anybody in person due to this deadly disease going around and the fact that it's been 0-degree weather here. However, I wanted to at least interact with others on the internet or by phone or Skype. I expected that since more people would be isolated, there would be more internet interaction. But it's not true for me. People have been more antisocial toward me than usual, which makes me very sad and very angry. I hardly ever even get comments on my videos anymore. Not even nasty or disagreeable comments, just a massive ignoring of me. So due to the regular social problems, coupled with the shutdown and ignoring on the internet, I've gotten satisfaction in seeing a steady increase in the number of coronavirus cases and increase in number of deaths. If the number of deaths from COVID in the United States could get to 100 million or more, I'd probably get a good laugh. Being shut and isolated from others has shut me off from the feelings and concerns of others. I'm not saying that attitude is right. And actually, I hold to the Christian faith, whose founder, Jesus, taught to love even your enemies. I know I'm not full of love, and I'm sometimes full of anger. But at least I'm not full of shit, like others who claim to be full of love. I'm honest. Only one was ever known to be full of love, Jesus Christ. But despite evidence to the contrary, some people claim to be full of love. For example, there's a common tactic called love bombing. Love bombing is an attempt to influence a person by temporary demonstrations of attention and affection. That phrase indicates that the love is phony. It's simply psychological manipulation designed to lure people in who show sympathy to a particular cause but aren't fully committed to it. It's designed to create a feeling of greater unity among the group against others perceived as hostile. Put another way, as soon as any interest is shown by a prospective recruit or adherent, they'll likely be love bombed by the recruiter or other members. This process of feigning friendship and interest in the recruit was originally associated with youth cults, but has spread to mainstream religion and politics. It is flooding of prospective members with affection, attention, verbal seduction, and flattery. Quoting Psalm 12:3, "The Lord shall cut off all flattering lips, and the tongue that speaketh proud things." Proverbs 26:28, "A lying tongue hateth those that are afflicted by it, and a flattering mouth worketh ruin." Proverbs 29:5, "A man that flattereth his neighbor spreadeth a net for his feet." Love bombing, the offer of instant friendship, is 100% deception. In fact, after social outcasts are presumably cemented into a group through friendship, the friendship will end because it's seen as no longer needed to keep them committed. A popular slogan to defend the LGBTQ movement is, "Love is love." Of course it is. And up is up, down is down, and potato chips are potato chips. It certainly doesn't mean that perversion is love, especially being the worst case of circular reasoning I've ever encountered. The worst I've ever encountered. Now let's compare some data between so-called racist, sexist, and homophobic times to so-called more progressive times. Here are the percentages of Americans who have lived and do live alone. First, the years 1900 to 1940. 1% of 21-year-olds, 2% of 30-year-olds, 3% of 45-year-olds, 4 to 6% of 60-year-olds, 6 to 13% of 75-year-olds, and 3 to 9% of 89-year-olds lived alone. But by 1980, it jumped to 5% of 21-year-olds, 9% of 30-year-olds, 6% of 45-year-olds, 32% of 75-year-olds, and 29% of 89-year-olds living alone. By 2018, it increased even more. 4% of 21-year-olds, 10% of 30-year-olds, 9% of 45-year-olds, 18% of 60-year-olds, 25% of 75-year-olds, and 42% of 89-year-olds lived alone. But common sense should tell us that if people love others, they will be drawn to them, and if they despise them, they'll be repelled from them. So the dramatic increase in people living alone shows that people have been pulled apart, and so love has died. One factor that has caused my social situation to go from bad to worse is cancel culture. That's the immediate shunning and termination of contact with people whose political views are different from yours. In fact, philosopher Stefan Molyneux declared that cancel culture is a dress rehearsal for mass murder by communists. Anyway, society mistreating others through intense blanket rejection can and does lead to mass shootings and bombings. I'll never resort to such things, as I've made a permanent commitment to the Christian faith long ago. It is my source of hope and identity. Quoting Romans 12:19, "Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord." However, ever-increasing ostracism of others who lack hope and identity is another matter. It will lead to a dramatic increase in terrorist behavior and collapse of society, since more and more will choose not to care for others since they are not cared for themselves. If society doesn't change its course of sowing the wind, it will reap the whirlwind.